Hello, welcome back to Far Horizons Gaming. My name is Ben, and we're going to continue on with Suzerain today. I do apologize for the long delay, I had a bunch of things come up, but hopefully I'll be able to get onto a semi-regular schedule here going forward. So last time I left off, we had just gotten elected as the brand new president. So let's get going with this and see where this presidency leads us. See if we can help restore the country to its former glory, or if we just accidentally run it straight into the ground. Alright, let's see here. Alright, got a letter from the Ministry of the Interior Communications Department. Subject, General Staff gathers. The General Staff convened right after the election to congratulate our victory. All branches of the Swordish Armed Forces were represented in the meeting that took place at Camp Strongarm with massive security measures. The Chief of the Armed Forces, Vulcan Kruger, made a public press statement highlighting the increasing chances of military confrontation in eastern Maricopa and requested support to strengthen the military. Let's take a look at these codex entries. I'm not going to actually read all these aloud because there's a lot of stuff, but leave them up for a second. You can totally pause if you want to read them yourself. Let's close that. Alright, let's do our first activity as president here. A briefing on the current political situation. The Office of the President of Sordland. Peter Vecton arrived a couple of minutes early and sat across from me. He was struggling to hold back a smile. I gotta find a voice for this guy. We did it, Anton. We won, finally. After all these years with our noses to the grindstone, paid off. Peter's eyes sparkled. The strain of the past months had put a damper on his usual rakish charm, but today he was looking and acting more like his old self. He loosened his tie and undid the top two buttons of his shirt. Enjoying the new secretary I picked out for you? Thought you'd appreciate her gorgeous sets of, talents. It's a shame the rest of your staff aren't as easy on the eyes. Gestured to the slight paunch that protruded over his waistband. But hey, back in university, did you ever imagine we would be sitting here in the Maroon Palace? We have to celebrate this great victory. Alright, let's celebrate. And some special for us, and their Lori Maroon 30-year-old. We'll celebrate the inaugural ball, staying in there until the evening. This is not time to celebrate. Yeah, let's celebrate. Let's get drunk in the office. I opened the expensive bottle of whiskey and poured it in the two glasses I prepared. The exquisite smell filled the room immediately. In 1924, that was my freshman year, also the year after the Revolution. Very difficult times, to be honest, but this smells like heaven. Future awaits or screw 1924. Let's go first one. The future awaits, Peter. Toast. I raised my glass and toasted with Peter before smelling the whiskey and taking a sip. The sweet vanilla tone combined with an oaky taste developed into a lingering smokiness. Peter really seemed to be enjoying himself. What a taste! This is how we should start all meetings, Anton. We won't get much done, or we could. Let's go first one. We wouldn't get much done. Remember the last administration? Yeah, but we're different. All they did was enjoy the privilege. I hope it won't be the case for my candidate. Okay, so let's go to... We can't make the same mistakes again. We learned from it all. I sure hope so. I sure do hope so. The door swung open and Lucien Galad, my chief strategist, walked in. He's a compact man with sharp bird-like features. After briefly surveying the room from wall to wall, he sat down, poured a glass of water, opened his briefcase in a series of quick, graceful movements. Gentlemen, The tall case clock in the room struck 3 o'clock. Sam, you're exactly on time.
Hello, Peter.
Lucian then turned towards me. He very slightly bowed his head. Glad to see you, Lucian.
It's a privilege to be here, sir.
Lucian spoke in soft, clipped tones and immediately drew your attention towards what he had to say. Paige and I waited for him to proceed. Well, that's probably the wrong voice, but I don't care, I'm sticking with it.
Let's start by evaluating our current situation. The majority of the Sordish people demand change. They are more concerned about the economy than the Constitution, but they blame the system for their problems.
People are losing their trust in our democracy. Why do you think radicals like Bernard Circus are becoming more popular? Everyone's expecting us to bring the change like the last government did not.
Franz Rector, leader of the Reformers, believes that true change can only be accomplished by transferring some of our powers to the Assembly. I will move into the details of the demand shortly.
Oh, some good choices here. I agree with the Reformists. We need to listen to the people. If we lose power, we won't be able to execute the changes. Let's go with the first one here. I agree with the Reformists. Our responsibility is to democratize our broken system. It's exactly what we campaigned for, a true change that will move the country forward.
We will need many allies against the old guard and the government. Mr. Richter managed to persuade many members of Assembly to give their support for drafting new constitution. Reformist politicians are quickly increasing in number. While the reformist wing inside our party is still a minority, they could have a tripartisan majority in the Assembly, especially if they unite under Franz Richter.
The USP reformists aren't wrong to agree with any change. Mr. Richter be a potential ally, part of his bottom line proposition. Mr. Richter could be a potential ally in our goal to maintain a majority in the Assembly.
He's definitely key in this.
The reformist demands are clear. They want to limit the President's veto powers, ensure that the Supreme Court is independent, and take away the Court's right to vote on constitutional amendments. Support reformists, we must listen to their demands. Won't allow them to influence me. Yeah, let's try to put in some checks and balances here. I support the reformists. We need a proper balance of power in this country. I agree, we can't ignore the winds of change after all.
The old guard will do its best to preserve the Constitution. Chief Justice Hawker and his allied judges have great influence over the Supreme Court, which will be tough to break.
The court also has the final say over constitutional legislation. Without their approval, we cannot even change it. We need a comprehensive bill to balance the power structure. We must break the power of the Supreme Court. Let's go with the first one, try to be diplomatic. We'll need a comprehensive bill to balance the power structure more fairly. I agree, the old guard won't like this though.
A comprehensive reform that would make the reformers happy would mean maintaining a balance between all branches of government. Which means removing your absolute veto as well. Reformers demand that all loopholes in the Constitution are closed.
Looks like we have many challenges. We cannot allow obstruction of success. Yeah, underestimate the situation. Looks like we have many challenges ahead. We can figure it out. Our party still holds 130 out of 250 seats in the Assembly. We've got the power.
However, to reform the Constitution, we must receive a 2/3 majority in the Grand National Assembly, which is 166 votes, and a simple majority in the Supreme Court that equals to 6 votes. After we've settled on how to proceed, we will need to talk with our party figures. Our first goal must be to get 150 signatures needed to start the process. Following the green light from the USP, we'll reach out to the other party leaders to see if they will back our draft. The last step is to convince the justices of the court. The entire process will take a long time, but we must start working with the Reform Committee to evaluate all possibilities now for a new constitution as soon as possible.
Screw that sets up. Oh well. We'll write a more democratic constitution. New constitution should be given the president wide-ranging powers. Going for democratic constitution. We will write a more democratic constitution with the reformists. That's what we've been preparing for internally. Don't forget that promise is what got us elected.
The key thing here will be strengthening the power of the Assembly, which we already lead with the majority.
Peter nodded in agreement. Yes, the divisions of power need to be balanced for better Sordland.
According to the initial draft we made with the reformists, there are 2 changes to the Constitution that are not open for their discussion.
Lucian opened his dossier.
First, the Supreme Court will no longer vote on constitutional amendments. Second, the President's absolute veto will be taken away. This can be replaced with a limited veto system by fixing the current loopholes.
I have no problem with these clauses. Let's work with the reformists.
Yes, sir.
Lucian nodded.
We will form a reform committee together with all parties and start reaching out to all the stakeholders in the Assembly and the Court for a new constitution.
Wait, why are there stakeholders? It's like government's like a business or something. It's weird and confusing, but okay, maybe that's why this country needs some bad government reforms. By later in the year, we should have an idea of the reform contents and what the other parties want. Lucian took notes.
Another important point, we must be aware of the Lotharberg Group. The oligarchs convene under this organization to influence economic policies. Conrad led it for a long time before falling ill. The new leader is Mr. Walter Tusk. According to reports, some members of the National Business Council are in their pockets. Tusk and the group will surely try to bribe us in exchange for special economic protections.
I want to work with them anyway. I won't be bought. Let dialogue eventually. We won't with those privileged, greedy, and snobby capitalists from the country. This is a tough one. Let's go with the third one. Let's be diplomatic. I'll enter a dialogue with them eventually. We need to be diplomatic.
Wise approach. It's good to understand and see if we can reach a middle ground.
Lucian looked at Peter. As far as I know, Marcel Caronti has some strong ties to this group. His influence could definitely be an asset for us, but I'm sure he'll want something in return. Where Mr. Caronti's wide network, groups influence the important force, groups dependent on economic policies, Let's go with the third one again. That group is dependent on our economic policies. They can't move a finger without us. I wouldn't be so optimistic. The capital they represent could do a lot of damage if it was diverted.
We need to tread carefully on all sides with all power plays to survive our term. I need to underline the seriousness of the situation. The military and general staff are a powerful element in the state, and its history tells us a dangerous one too. We do have some room to make structural changes by reducing their budget, for example, but it is quite limited.
I want to receive advice from the military. I don't want to die in prison just like Artor and Sanishi did. Remember, threaten Horizon can't reduce or defense capability from the general staff. The military has been nothing but a burden. Just like Jurassic funding. I'll go with the first option. I want to receive the advice of the military before making up my mind.
It is sound to listen to them, but they have very biased and narrow opinions. Oops. Patriotism clouds their minds. General Kruger is a spectre of the past. Defense Minister Iosef Lancia is more loyal to us compared to General Kruger, a fact that obviously can change their actions. Either way, I see a potential rift between the two since they are clearly of different minds.
If we act strongly against the military, both of those guys will unite against us. I agree with Lucian, we need to tread carefully here. Lucian looked at his watch.
Well then, gentlemen, precisely 30 minutes. This concludes our political briefing for today. Our next meeting will be about our media strategy. Talk to you soon, sir. I will keep in touch.
See you both at the next meeting. Lucian and Peter bid their farewells and left. Ministry overview updated. The hell does that mean? Ooh, wow, I got newspapers to read too. Alright. That's this one. Whole Sword Post, Committee for Reforms. Speaker Gloria Torrey said the committee, which includes all three political parties of the Assembly, has been formed for the preparation of potential changes to the Constitution. The committee has been asked to submit a comprehensive report to find a solution for the current problematic state of affairs in the governmental institutions. Torrey said, USP wants to appeal to the people of Sordland to help in maintaining stability and order in the state. The details of the committee regarding its actual topics or its members have not been clarified. A little article about us here. President Anton Rain has been sworn into duty in a great ceremony in Holzord. Thousands have attended the ceremony where President Rain has met with supporters for the first time after his election. In his inauguration, Rain spoke about change and hope, bringing focus on reforms. Together, we will bring prosperity and reform to our nation. It is a time of hope. It is a time of change, said the new president before he went on to start his first day in the Maroon Palace. Nice. Alright. Check out Sordland today. Another article about our inauguration here. The new president has been sworn into office by Chief Justice Orso Hawker. Another great win for the USP and Anton Rain, who managed to get 37% of the general vote. This doesn't sound like a lot, but what do I know? That could be a huge number. The first congratulations came from Kisaro Kibner of the National Front Party. The runner-up of the general vote, the PFJP, didn't concede until the last minute, but the results were clear since several hours in. Thousands of supporters have gathered in the streets of Holsword chanting campaign slogans, waving flags, and displaying USP party banners to display unwavering support to the newly elected president. Public mood is very positive in the capital from all accounts on the ground. The city is celebrating the whole Sordian has become president of Sordland. This country probably had a lot more political parties than we do in the U.S. 37% could very well be a huge vote for this country. Also interesting that it said the city is celebrating the whole Sordian has become the president of Sordland. Oh shit, never mind. Whole Sword is the capital city of the country. I know what's going on. Don't mind me. Alright. Support Assembly grows for campaign finance bill. This is from the Lockhaven Times. The bill to change the criteria for the allocation of public funds to political parties is proposed by Representative Albin Clavin from the USP. The bill aims to change the criteria from the proportion of votes won in general elections to proportion of seats won by a political party in the Grand National Assembly. This would result in an increase of about 28 million SR to the governing United Sordland Party, which will benefit the most from the proposed bill. The new bill would give political parties an annual amount of 500,000 SR per member of assembly. I don't know what SR stands for. It's obviously their money, but Alright, Sordish National League starts season. A very exciting day marks the Sordish National League kicks off. It's an awkward sentence. Very exciting day marks the Sordish National League kickoff with the SK Lockhaven versus Benfi FC match. The league consisting of nearly 10 teams has been gaining more and more popularity in recent decades, with tickets dropping significantly in prices, leading to increased accessibility. Football fans are looking forward to one of the key events of the league, the match between the two most competent teams, FC Onrika and FC Gilzord. Right, how many teams is nearly 10? A tiny little football league. Alright, another article about us. President Anton Rain has been elected 4th president of Sordland in the 7th Sordish elections. The United Sordland Party has won the election on Sunday with just over 37% of the vote, while Franz Richter, the leader of the People's Freedom and Justice Party, could gain just over 20%. Casaro Kibaner, the head of the right-wing National Front Party, is in third place with just over 11%. The Communist Party of Sordland and the Workers' Party of Gludia both won just below 10% of the vote, failing to pass the 10% election threshold. The new term begins with the opposition of PFJP and NFP under the USP government. Unrepresented votes below the threshold resulted in the USP taking 52% of the seats in the Grand National Assembly, giving them the lawmaking power. The new seat numbers have been finalized as follows: USP 130, PFJP 70, NFP 40, and Independents 10. And there you go. So there's at least 5 political parties all vying for power here. And looks like about 250 seats in the National Assembly. Pretty good sized government body there. Alright, let's try Radical. Another USP president. Nice, this paper seems to hate us already. How many times will people fall for the same trap? We've seen this before with Colonel Sol, who supposedly saved this country and brought stability in times of chaos. His stability, however, meant a life of oppression. Any opposing voices were silenced, and many were persecuted. Next was Alfonso, who was elected as a liberal reformer to bring change to the USP in Sordland. Seeing his own unfortunate inability, his own cabinet resigned. As the third USP candidate becomes president, it is high time to realize that change won't come from their party. Yeah, these guys really hate us. That's cool. That should be a fun newspaper to keep an eye on. Alright, from the Economists. Okay. Restructure the infrastructure? After the recent successful mega infrastructure projects from United Contana and Fogsland, the world is warming up to the idea as a source of growth and employment. Is there any truth to this success? Our investment analysis indicates that infrastructure investments can be fruitful in the short term, even more so in the long term, especially if they focus on linking economic nodes that business logistics depend on. This is, however, the first step. The crux of the matter is diversification of investment, where the government supports employment and growth. It is key to help private businesses, government contracts, tax breaks, and political support in order to create a self-sufficient and dynamic economy. The government's role in Sordland should be to integrate to the world economy and reap the benefits of global trade. Economic growth and income inequality in this country won't be fixed otherwise. End Solonomics. A new era begins for Sordland, and it holds many economic questions that will need to be answered by President Rain. Our top economic analysts, with consultation from the National Business Council, have released a comprehensive report on the performance of the past 20 years. A certain section of the report stands out. The last 2 4-year plans of the plan doctrine created a budget deficit and a clear reduction of the industrial production output. This was specifically due to mismanagement and inefficient bureaucracy. That's going to be a fun hurdle to try to overcome. The year-on-year growth, budget balance, and production index values indicate that the 2 most productive consecutive years have been when the privatization program of Alfonso began in 1949. Our editorial team, with help of experts like Mikhail Avin and Yves Agnot, come to the conclusion that the recession was not actually caused by Evald Alfonso's bold privatization program, but by the drastic obstructions of state executive hindering the plan. President Rain must take the advice of planned economy proponents around him with a pinch of salt, otherwise he could find himself in the same spot of Tarkin Sol in the mid-40s. Cool, that might be a really useful newspaper to pay attention to. Alright, Geopolitico. Rumberg coming south? Our foreign policy analysts who are reviewing recent aggressive military and diplomatic developments of Rumberg have come to the conclusion that it is highly likely that Rumberg will keep trying to push further south, threatening the territories of Sordland, Valen, and possibly Anagnolia. The annexation of Dome many decades ago was just the beginning. Rumberg seems to be on a quest to secure all strategic resources in East Marcopa. Nice, so we might have a military rival here we have to deal with too. Ooh, alright. It's just like dossiers. Yeah, it's little dossiers from all these different countries. Congratulations from Prime Minister Van Horten. And Mr. Van Horten congratulated us on our election and praised our party's stance on just and transparent elections. Signaled his wishes to continue the trade partnership between our countries as equal partners. Exposed earlier trade deals which he believes gave Sordland unfair advantages. Cool. Seems like a Holland standard. That's cool. Congratulations from Chancellor Hegel. Chancellor Hegel sent his congratulations on a great victory and wished for close cooperation between our countries in the future. Hegel signaled concessions from Volksland in case of a promising trade deal. Also congratulated the Sordish democracy for the successful elections and warned us about the threat Arkasi's growing influence poses for Eastern Marcopa. Cool. Nice friendly foreign country there. Remember, it doesn't have a dot. Low production in Ireland. The report calls attention to the alarmingly low levels of productivity growth in the region of Ireland, where there are also high rates of food insecurity, malnutrition, and rural poverty in inner parts of the region. Cool. That could be an interesting trade opportunity. Lack of investment. Mayor of Arvory, Eric Neal, reports a lack of adequate infrastructure around Arvory, which seriously undermines the attractiveness of Arvory's investment climate. Foreign investors, particularly from Agnolia, are becoming hesitant to invest in the city. Meanwhile, according to data published by the National Business Council, around 19% of the country's total expenditures in Ireland is absorbed by logistics costs, while in peer regions this figure is below 10%. This is a shitty business opportunity. Port of Lockhaven. Port of Lockhaven loses importance. The latest marine traffic report showed that the Port of Lockhaven is no longer the busiest of the Marcopa continent, falling behind to the third position. While this is a negative indicator for our administration, Lockhaven still has potential to shine again as a major trading center. The Port of Lockhaven is the largest port of Sordland and holds enormous importance for the economy, particularly as the main distribution center linking the capital and inner parts of Sordland to the rest of the world. Major port city will hopefully keep supporting a possible economic upturn in the entire country if investment projects proceed. Which parts of this are all my country? Sure. Oh, that's cool. The letter on the side here I can't possibly read. Let's ignore that for now. Alright. Dire. I'll go dire. Increasing homelessness. The region of Bergia is among the worst hit regions in Sordland, where homelessness has skyrocketed since the economic recession. The number of homeless in the city of Dire is more likely to increase by 25% in the last year. The rise is particularly stark among Blutish people, where homelessness increased by 72% in 6 years. Holy shit. It is reported that homelessness among ethnic minorities has reached the highest level in more than a decade. The Blutish minority of the region now account for 47% of all homeless people there. Damn. That looks like it might be a project we have to try to tackle. Alright, so we get two more little dossiers and we'll get back into the story part here. President Smolak has sent his congratulations on the election victory and wished for a cooperative future between Valen and Sordland, signaling a desire to normalize the diplomatic situation between the two countries. Looks like there's some tension there with the last president. Alright. Report from Lesbia. Congratulations from Prime Minister Alvarez. Prime Minister Alvarez congratulated you for the results and spoke about his hopes to have a beneficial partnership deal in the future. He sent his best wishes to the Sorge people and warned us about the threats of the encroaching Malinievist influence of United Cortana from the east, emphasizing the importance of unity in our continent, Marcopa. Interesting. Kind of cool to get a perspective of where the different regions around the country are. Okay, alright. Got one more report here in the capital. Public opinion report. People's views on the need for democratic reform in the government structure has changed over the last decade. Reformist propaganda from the leader of the People's Freedom and Justice Party, Franz Richter, resulted in a massive increase in the demands for democratic reforms. has estimated that currently 55% of the population supports reformist ideas. It's definitely a majority, but that's not necessarily a good sign if only just over half the country wants some sort of democratic reform. Alright, let's go to the next meeting here. Meeting on the media strategy. Alright. Lucien and Peter arrived at my office to talk about recent developments and the media strategy. They both took their seats across from me. Lucien put on his reading glasses and quickly went over some documents. Peter turned to Lucien and nodded. Right.
Let's begin.
First of all, Lucien, you mentioned that Marcel Caronti contacted you? The Carontis have always been known as one of the richest and most influential families in Sordland. Marcel Caronti was no exception. He was the oldest son of Conrad Caronti, the industrialist and mega mogul who founded HOS, the richest man in the entirety of Sordland. Alright, what is HOS? That sounds important. The Heart of Sordland Conglomerate. It's a multi-industry corporation worth tens of billions of SR, part of the big four largest companies in Sordland. Monopoly in the media. Cool, that's good to know. Alright, Lucien turned to me.
He has offered to meet with you, Mr. President.
What does he want?
After the passing of his father, may he rest in peace, Marcel aims to become the next CEO of the HOS conglomerate. He mentioned a productive collaboration.
They are a powerful and influential media conglomerate. To start with, they own the Sordland Today newspaper, the Swedish Broadcasting Corporation,
which means it would be wise to have them on our side. Sorry for interrupting.
Does this prevent the collaboration entail? Let's consider our options. Sound like there's potential there. The first one. What does this productive collaboration entail?
He did not wish to explain the details over the phone, but rather in person. I believe I'll be receiving a call from him sometime soon. However, as Peter said, they have established substantial power over the content of media outlets, headlines, radio shows. That is what he would be offering. What he wants in return is what we need to understand. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. First, we need to determine our general approach to the media.
I'm no media expert, but Lucien made some very interesting arguments at the preparation meeting yesterday.
There are two ways we can approach the media. One of them is by influencing it, which has clear advantages. The other one is keeping it independent.
Yes. The media must be independent.
Ideally, yes, but an unpopular leader will not be able to pass even the easiest reforms. It is of utmost importance to maintain public popularity and avoid any damaging scandals or mistakes. I must stress one thing, Mr. President. The more people we have supporting our agenda, the more we can accomplish. With someone on our side in an influential media organization, we can do this very easily.
I see what you're getting at. I agree with Lucien, but why the assumption there will be scandals and mistakes?
We can always hope for the best, but do we really think that nothing can go wrong, especially considering the very recent history of Sordland?
2 knocks were at the door. Who is it? It's Olivia, Mr. President. Oh crap, that's a lady. Livia Suno, my new secretary, entered the office. Her dark curls bounced as she crossed the room into my desk. She spoke with a slight lilt in her voice. Excuse me, Mr. President. Mr. Gallad's secretary has been calling me and wanted me to relay a message. Marcel Caronti, the new CEO of the HOS conglomerate, is on the line for Mr. Gallad. Well, the ball is in our court now.
Would you like to talk to him, sir, or would you like me to?
He's calling for Lucien, so let's let him talk to him for a moment. You go ahead. Connect the line to my office. Right away, sir. Connecting the call to line 1. That's a terrible voice. Alright. Olivia left the room, and the phone started ringing. Lucien picked up the phone and started to listen. A few minutes passed as the two talked over the phone.
Good news indeed. Congratulations, Mr. Caronti. Thank you for contacting me about this. We will talk later.
Lucian put the phone down. What was so important that it couldn't wait?
He was just elected CEO by the board of directors. He offered a partnership deal regarding his media branch. He's inviting us to his resort near Conrad for a meeting.
The board has decided rather quickly. It seems that gave him the confidence to approach us again.
He's going to offer a real deal, and now has the power of the conglomerate too. The choice is up to you, Mr. President. I can set up the meeting soon.
Let's ask about Peter's opinion. I'd like to hear your opinion, Peter. I have to say I'm torn. If he's become the CEO, then he has enormous influence by now. On the other hand, do we want to privately meet with someone we don't fully know?
Meeting would help us figure him out. We can still say no to whatever he offers.
Fuck it. Arrange the meeting. Arrange the meeting with Mr. Caronti.
I'll set things up right away. Expect a worthwhile meeting next month.
Let's set it then. Looking forward to next month. I wonder if he has a pool. Lucian looked at his watch.
It appears we're done for today. We'll continue where we left off later. Thank you for your time.
Good work, Marcel. Keep it up. Lucy and Peter nodded before gathering the documents and leaving my office. We're already getting the attention of key figures, and potentially dangerous ones. Sweet. Alright, well that looks to be about time for an episode for today. So thank you all very much for watching. Like I said earlier, I plan on trying to get some sort of a semi-regular schedule going here, so look for another video probably in the next week or two. Yeah, again, thank you all for watching. Have a great day.